I hereby call the December 2nd, 2024 Planning Commission to order at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, will you please do a roll call?
Commissioner Glenn,
Here.
Commissioner Allen,
Here.
Commissioner Cohn,
Here.
Commissioner Shane,
Here.
Commissioner McCabe,
Here.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Here.
Commissioner Scoggin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Changes or additions to the agenda?
My cue. Alex Tron, Planning Director for the Matsu Borough. I did want to just point out that there was a bit of a discrepancy in the agenda that is in your packet compared to the agenda that was published. The agenda that was published did not have anything regarding a transit update for a presentation. The agenda that is in your packet does have a transit update. We do not have anything prepared for a transit update tonight, so we're asking that you just that I guess we remove that part of the agenda that's in the packet.
Okay. Are there any other changes? Any objections to the agency staff reports transit update being removed? Hearing, seeing none, agenda is approved. Okay. Commissioner Fernandez, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, today on the consent agenda, we have the regular meeting minutes from November 18th, 2024. And we have an introduction for public hearing quasi-judicial matters. I'm sorry, I have a candy I have to get rid of. Makes it a little hard to talk. Okay. Resolution 24-33, a conditional use permit in accordance with MSB 17.17, Denali State Park Special Land Use District for the construction and operation of an RV campground resort within the park's boundaries. The site is located at milepost 135.7, 4852 North Parks Highway. Tax ID number uniform 04998-000 Lima 02-4. Staff Peggy Horton, current planner. That is the only thing that is on the consent agenda. Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda as written? Hearing, seeing none, consent agenda is approved. Okay, we are moving to land use classifications. Resolution 24-34, a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending approval of an ordinance classifying a portion of land located in the core area known as tax account 18 November 01 Echo 31 Charlie 013 as reserved use land for the purpose of an emergency services facility. Staff is Lisa Gray. And at this time, Lisa, if you'd like to come up and proceed.
Hello, my name is Lisa Gray. I'm the land management agent for the Matsu Borough, and I'm here for a land classification. This is a proposal to classify 5 acres of a 60-acre parcel. Emergency services planning to combine 2 fire stations and relocate it. Fire Station 5-2 is the Maynard Public Safety Building, and that's on the corner of Bogart and Inkstrom. And the other station they're going to combine it with is Station 6-5, which that's the Cottonwood Fire Station located on the Palmer-Wasilla Highway and Seward Meridian. That station also has administrative offices, and those offices will stay at that location. It's just the fire that's moving. Public Works, Pre-Design and Engineering prepared a site investigation report, and that's in your packet. And their recommendation was that the property be developed for a public safety building with access directly onto Bogard Road. Central Mat-Su Fire Service Area Board Supervisors unanimously passed a motion to move forward with this property. There were 3 public comments that were received, and there's copies in your packet. Some of the concerns were sirens and lights from the fire stations. Department of Emergency Services is very respectful of adjacent property owners, and they don't come out of the fire station with their lights on and their sirens on. They wait till they get down the road, and so they don't get complaints from adjacent property owners. Another concern was adjacent people wanted to keep the property as it is, as a green belt. This is 60 acres and we're only classifying 5, so the other 6 or the other 55 will remain unclassified. The other concerns were about increased traffic, property values, increased foot traffic, bright security lights, light pollution. This station, emergency services, will probably have between 6 and 10 calls a day, and that would be between fire and ambulance if they add the ambulance to the station. They're not sure that's going to happen. If it's fire only, that will run between 3 and 5 calls per day. Full funding is available next fiscal year, and it'll be utilized from emergency services fundings. Groundbreaking is anticipated for the next fiscal year. And so our fiscal year starts in July. So that'd be July 2025 to June 2026 to break ground. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is there any questions?
So this is Commissioner Allen. I understand that this is going to be sort of a consolidation, right? The idea is to close or partially close some other response units, I guess, and consolidate them to this new area. Can you talk a little more about that? And if there's a plan for what to do with some of the closed facilities?
Yes, to Commissioner Allen, it is to combine the 2 fire stations into one new larger station. And so I don't know of the plans for the station that's located on Bogard and Ingstrom, what their future is. That station, I think, was built back in the 80s. So it's older, it's small, and then they were going to combine it with the large station that's at 6-5, but that building is still going to house the administrative end of it. And so it'll be the 2 stations combined for fire, and they may add ambulance there, but they're not sure yet. I think that they'll look at probably the design and find out if they have money or if it's going to happen or not.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Commissioner Shane, so if I understand this correctly, you said the one off near Ingstrom there and 6-5.
Correct.
Right? And the one off of Ingstrom, if I remember correctly, that one is unmanned. It is just where they respond to.
Correct. There's not 24-hour people there. I think when they get calls, then they.
I'm assuming there's been some studies done on what this does for the emergency services coverage, given that we're going to be moving away from 6-5. Is there, I imagine, response times to certain areas might be a little bit slower. Is there any concern about that?
You know, I can't answer that, but I know in the minutes from the Fire Service Board, that was part of their discussion, and they listed out the distance between each station. So 6-5, location of land, distance between the existing stations and the proposed new site. So where 6-5 is, and that's the Palmer-Wasilla Highway, and Selden is, or Seward Meridian, excuse me, 1.5 miles. And then the other station that's on Ingstrom and Bogart, Station 5-2, is 3.4 miles to the new location.
But 6.5 is what they cover. They're going to be further away from their original area, which typically handles more of the calls, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That I don't know.
Okay. I just have one other question. The location of it, we've got the Matsu Day School, the school district, Wasilla Maintenance Shop, along with, well, I guess Fronteras won't play it. It will as they punch that road through. Is there any concerns? I mean, that Seward Meridian is getting upgrades, obviously, so that's going to hopefully help with the flow of traffic there. But Bogard, that's continuing to get worse and worse traffic. Has there been any consideration of that, or is this was the most affordable spot to put this deal?
Yes, to Commissioner Shane. So when Public Works did their site investigation, they took that into consideration. And one thing is that straight across from Tate, I would imagine in the future there may be a light there. And so when we drew the line for the 5 acres, we kind of lined it up straight across from Tate so that in the future, if there's a light there, it would make it safer to turn it on and off. But with that said, Public Works also said that the driveway could be further to the east also before that happened. But we designed the 5 acres so that in the future, if the road was punched through and there was a light there, they could then take access from there.
So there's no plan to put a light in place, but there's a hope that there will be a light put in place.
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Commissioner Glenn here. We're cutting, the borough has a 60-acre block of property, and we're cutting 5 off of that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I just want to clarify one other thing. I think I read that the 5-acre block that we're cutting off is valued at almost $900,000. Is that right?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Did I misread that?
I get a question for Rick. So what are you asking her?
I believe when I was reading the packet earlier that it gave a sort of a fair market value of the piece of land that we're going to use, and I was sort of surprised that the value was almost $900,000.
Yeah, that's probably about right, I would think. The guy next to you, to your right, could probably tell you that.
I'll put my 2 cents in. It makes sense that that would be the value of the full 60 acres to me. But again, without doing a comparative market analysis of any kind, I couldn't really speak to it for sure. That's a very valuable 5-acre piece of property if that's true. And I'd love to talk to the person who gave that assessment.
I have the 2023 borough assessed value of the entire 60 acres was $894,700.
Okay, that's exactly what my question was. That was
Okay.
the whole 60
That's
acres
the
then.
whole
Okay,
60
perfect. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay, no other questions. All right, thank you very much. So at this time, we'll go ahead and open public hearing on Resolution 24-34. If anyone on the phone wish to speak, please press star 3. And if there's anyone in the audience, we're getting a sign-up sheet, but if there's anyone here, you can come on up. Okay, nobody's on the phone? All right. Lacey, I'm assuming there's no one on the sheet? Okay. Okay, so are there any objections to closing the public hearing? Hearing and seeing none, public hearing is closed. Okay, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 24-34.
Commissioner Fernandez here. I move to, wow, I've just completely blanked on the verbiage. I move to approve Resolution 24-34.
Okay, is there a second?
Confidently.
Absolutely.
Commissioner McCabe, I'll second.
Okay, so we have Commissioner Fernandez made the motion for Resolution 24-34 with a second from Commissioner McCabe. Is there any discussion?
I'll go ahead, for Commissioner Fernandez here. I'll go ahead and comment that there are lots of studies out there around emergency services and the effect it has on property values. And I would suggest that based on the research that I've read, that if anything, it actually increases the value of properties to have emergency services closer to their residents. So barring the noise complaints, which I do understand can be an issue, depending on how active the source is. Other than that, I'm feeling comfortable and confident.
Okay,
Commissioner McCabe, one additional comment. It will also foreseeably lower the price of insurance for the neighbors.
yep. Okay, any other comments? Okay, I just had one other question of clarification then. Is it 6.5 that's going to be kept as administrative?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, but all fire will go to the new building.
Correct.
Okay, all right, that's what I thought. I just want to clarify. Okay, any other discussion? All right, are there any objections to this resolution? Hearing and seeing none, Resolution 24-34 passes. Okay. We are moving to audience participation. At this time, members of the audience may speak regarding any topic that's not on the agenda for public hearing. If anyone's on the phone and wish to speak, please press *3. Nobody. Anyone in the audience that wish to speak for the audience participation? Nobody. Okay, hearing and seeing none, are there any objections to closing audience participation? Audience participation is closed. Okay, we are moving on to public hearing legislative matters. Resolution 24-32, a resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending approval of an ordinance amending MSB 17.73 multifamily development design standards to change notification requirements and process for multifamily developments. Staff Alex Strawn, Planning and Land Use Director. Alex?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This ordinance is at the request of a 7-member Hale, and so right now, multifamily development permits that are applied for at the planning department go through a review by staff, and then we make a decision without any sort of public notification or public process. That decision is appealable, but it's kind of difficult for people to know that it's even happening because it's really just a ministerial process where we sort of check to see that they meet all the standards, and then the planning director or his designee signs it. What this would do is create a public process where, just like an administrative permit for a gravel permit or tower permits, we would send multifamily development permits out for public review. We'd publish it in the newspaper. We'd send a public notification out within 600 feet of the affected property. And then I would actually sit at the table, at the dais here, myself and Lacey. I would gavel in. I would hear public testimony. I'd hear from the appellant. I'd hear from staff, and then adjudicate that decision. And then that, of course, would be appealable to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. I did, and I apologize, this is not in your packet, but I did go ahead and ask staff to pull some numbers for me. And really what I thought was pertinent was how many multifamily development permits we process in a given year. And as you can see, the numbers have gone up considerably in the past couple of years. This year in 2024, we have received 34 applications for multifamily developments. And I will say I did also have staff do a breakdown of the amount of time that it takes to do the public notification, to create the packets, to have review, all the additional things. We'd have to have a more robust staff report, and then field questions by the public, things like that. So all the time that it takes for staff to go through this additional process, and it really kind of takes around 30 to 40 hours per permit that this would be in addition. So I did want to bring that to your attention because it is not without cost. A conservative estimate would be that it's about 1,000 hours of staff time that would be added. If we had 34 additional permits of this type that require public notification, you're looking at about an additional 1,000 hours of time, which is 6 months of a full-time person or 1,000-hour staff. So that might generate questions. I'd be happy to answer them.
Commissioner McCabe, I have a question. What does a application for a permit cost?
So I don't have that on hand. I think it's $300, but we would increase that. Most of our conditional use permits are $1,500, and we'd probably increase it to that because it's considerable more time to review these things.
That was the reason for my question is, how do you justify the extra 1,000 hours without increasing your cost? I mean, your charge to the person
Yeah, so
applying.
yeah, certainly, yeah, we'd be submitting a new fee for the permit application, and then one of two things would happen. We'd either get more staff, or I guess there's more than two options, but we could get more staff, or the other permits would take more time because we're fitting these in, or there's always the possibility of like getting rid of other rules so that we could have enough staff to go through all these permits. But this would be an increase in staff time.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Commissioner Shane, through the chair. You had that graph up earlier. Do you recall what the counts were prior to those years?
That was not part. I just asked staff to go back 5 years.
Okay, because I had a graph on our new construction. I meant to send it to you. I apologize, but from what I can see, 2015 to 2018, those numbers were substantially higher by a lot. I don't know if it was regulations or what it was that put in place where we saw a huge dip in multifamily use construction, but we definitely saw a dive. And I'm just curious why which going back 5 years, I would imagine would be standard, but it looks like from the numbers, the graph that I have from the borough, it looks like we were handling quite a bit more in those prior years.
So, yeah, I didn't go farther back, but I will say that the law did change a couple of years ago. So the threshold at what time a permit would be necessary changed. So that definitely would change the amount of applications that we get. I will say that I've never seen a year where we had 34 applications. There may have been other unpermitted multifamily developments that went in for whatever reason, whether they're built illegally or whether they slid under the threshold at which a permit was required. But I've never seen, nearly 36 applications in 1 year. That's a lot.
Commissioner Fernandez, if I may too, there is a difference in classification for multifamily properties. So depending on where the stats were coming from, what you were looking at could have encompassed any dwelling that had 4 or fewer units. Those would be considered multifamily for residential purposes. Mm-hmm. Anything above 4 units, and it looks like we're looking at between 4 and 18 units based on these definitions. Right. Anything over 5 5 units is going to be classified as a commercially grade multifamily property. And I think that's more of what we're discussing here today.
Yeah. And I'm not so much, through the chair, Alex, I'm not so much questioning as to whether or not you would need the multiple man hours to process those applications. My concern is that we've already, like, based off the numbers that I have, already seen a constraint from what it looks like on multifamily housing. And the last thing that I want to see is more red tape and more costs to the borough and make it more difficult for developers to build those because we need them. Like, our population is increasing, and the last thing that we need to do is make it harder for those things to happen, in my opinion. So, yeah.
If I could respond
may.
to
Go
that.
ahead.
So this will not change the standards for a multifamily development permit. This only changes the process. So if they were going to get approved before, they would still get approved. It does not change the standards whatsoever. It will take more time to approve the permits, but it will not change the standards.
Through the chair, I understand it wouldn't change the standards, but it would make it more difficult for builders to proceed if they're having to wait longer for permits to get processed. That's already probably a rather extensive process, especially when you're talking that it's going to take even more staff hours to process them in this manner, right? So, it's probably one of my biggest issues with it.
Can I get a clarification on that as well? Because it's also increasing the cost, likely. So it's increasing the time and it's increasing the cost, so there will be longer delays likely.
It will increase both of those. Very likely the fees would go up, and certainly the time to process these would go up. Right now, from the time we received a complete application, we have 10 days to process these. This would then change it to something like 2 months.
Go ahead.
Through the chair. I guess my comment on something that we have a 12-month calendar year, but in Alaska, we really don't have that in construction, and our costs go up. They essentially double when we try to work in the wintertime. And it's, yeah, anything that holds up. I've been in construction all my life, and when you start adding months onto it, next thing you know, you're breaking ground in September, and costs even go up even more. So yeah, I'm not in favor of any more things, any more restrictions slowing this up.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Allen. Like,
ahead.
I think this is a tough issue, and this is I think we've hit on the heart of this issue that we have to discuss. And I mean, obviously, we're going to need more multifamily dwellings, in this valley as this valley continues to grow rapidly. I mean, that's going to have to be sort of part of the solution to deal with the housing situation that we're facing, that we're going to continue to face in the future. But I think about people, old neighborhoods in this valley, people that have lived here for a long time. They've had homes, businesses, that kind of thing. And you start putting up massive apartment buildings and stuff right by these people's neighborhoods, right by their businesses. I mean, shouldn't they have some input? I mean, that's absolutely going to change the complexion of their current property. And doesn't it feel like they should have some sort of input about that? There should be some sort of public process. And I tend to think that they should. So I do agree that it's a tricky situation, but I think that's the crux of the issue.
Anyone else? Just for the record, in my opinion, we have had public testimony in areas that I could fully sympathize with those who are testifying, but we can't make a change because of the ordinances. I think we would be in the same boat with this. Even if we had the public testimony, if they followed the ordinances correctly, there would be nothing we could change. Is that correct?
Well, this is Alex Strawn, Planning Director. Certainly there are some provisions of code that you guys consider as a planning commission that have some discretion, like whether a development is in character with the surrounding area, for instance, is something that can be up for interpretation. The idea behind the multifamily development permit is that there are pretty hard standards that you either meet them or you don't. You have the appropriate amount of parking spaces or you don't. So that was my understanding of why it's a ministerial permit and not a full-blown conditional use permit or something along those lines. So I think most of the standards within 1773 for multifamily are pretty hard and fast, that these are the rules. There is a provision here that allows the director to give some conditions of approval. And we kind of, I think we already do that. Like if there's some sort of traffic condition that it's creating or whatever, we may say, look, you're gonna have to move this where you access or something like that. We do have a little bit of discretion like that, but generally speaking, the standards within 1773 are not really discretionary.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I don't really have a question, Commissioner McCabe. Just, this is a problem because we are in such a fast-growing area. I understand exactly what Commissioner Allen said about people not wanting big developments next to them and needing to have some kind of a way for the public to have input. But at the same time, I agree with Commissioner Shane that we don't really want any more red tape. And so that puts us kind of in it's a conundrum. How do you fix it so that it works for everybody and so that we encourage the growth of housing for people that need it?
Any other questions or comments?
I'll go ahead and comment, Commissioner Fernandez. There's an undertone here, right? There's many different things. There's many different things that our legislative branch could enact in our policies and land use requirements, developments. Like there's lots of policies that could be implemented, especially given how fast our areas are growing. I think that this is a Band-Aid solution to something that needs stitches. And so I hear that it's going to, and I'm considering this, that it's going to put extra constraint and more time and more money on more expenses on the planning department to consider these larger solutions to the density of population that we have and the increase in available housing. And so, though I am an advocate for the public process, and I appreciate that there's a resolution in front of us that is proposing how to address that, I think that it's adding a bureaucratic step to something that is still keeping people out of homes. And I'm a big advocate of getting people into homes, get roof over heads. That's the objective. And as long as they're following standards and following the requirements of the permitting applications, I see no reason why we should burden either the people who are building facilities for people to live in, nor the staff that are in charge of protecting the borough in the planning and land use department. So that's my testimony. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Commissioner Glenn, I agree with him wholeheartedly. I can't see at this point adding another step in the bureaucracy, so I'm against this.
Okay. Any other? All right. Are there any objections to Resolution 24-32?
Commissioner Fernandez here. Yes, I object.
Okay. We will have a vote. Madam Clerk? Yes?
So Alex Strawn, Planning Director. I do want to say that I've said this before, the way the Planning Commission speaks to the Assembly is to adopt resolutions. And if you vote this resolution down, then I would recommend that you maybe craft a different resolution to send a message to the Assembly what your opinion is on this matter. The other option is to modify this resolution so it's for denial instead of approval.
At this time, I have no amendments. Okay. Are there any desires for amendments? I see none. So,
Commissioner Glenn, I say we just shoot this thing down cold. We don't need to do that.
let's go ahead.
Alex Strawn again. So, what I have done in the past, which I can do here, is take this resolution, write in big red on the front page, failed, and then I can slip that into the Assembly's as part of the informational memorandum that you guys failed a resolution for approval. So,
Okay. Then we probably should check and make sure that it does fail or pass. Correct?
if it were to fail, that's
Okay.
what I would do.
Excellent. All right, let's take a vote, and I believe we can use the clickers. How about that? Okay, so at this time, go ahead and vote. Madam Clerk, first, will you, a yes is you would want the resolution, and a no is you're turning it down, correct? Just so that we have clarification.
Correct.
Okay, there you go. Everybody vote now. There you go.
The resolution has failed unanimously.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are moving on to commission business. Meeting schedule and upcoming planning commission agenda items. So our next meeting is December 16th, and that will be our last, well, this says the 23rd. So are we at the 16th or the,
The meeting dates on the right.
oh, sorry. See, thank you, Lacey. That's okay. Appreciate it. All right, so our last meeting of the year is December 16th. And you have a sheet for next year's possible meetings, which this will go on the agenda for next meeting, correct? For approval, or as normally we do an approval of the calendar, correct?
Yes, it is. It was advertised that we would take this up.
This is for now? Oh, then I was wrong. We'll do it for now. Okay. All right, so are there any objections to the 2025 schedule? I don't see any. So hearing and seeing none, the 2025 schedule is approved. And is there anything else with the upcoming planning commission agenda items that we need to know about?
Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. If anyone has any questions at this time? All right, then with that, I believe that we are at director and commissioner comments. So let's start with Commissioner Scoggins. I like to mix it up.
Did we move the vote on resolution 2432?
2434? Yes.
32.
I'm sorry.
We did.
Yes,
Okay,
we
I'm-
did.
I'm sorry, I just thought we missed that maybe.
Hold on a minute. I think we missed that completely. I'm not sure how we missed that. No, that's what we just voted on.
I
Oh,
know.
we didn't have a motion.
We
Is
didn't
that
have
what
a
you're
motion.
saying? We did not
Point of
have a
order, I
motion.
guess I should have said, I don't know.
Good catch.
Rarely do I catch one like that. But yeah.
Nice job. We will go back and we will correct that right now. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion for resolution 24-32.
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, is there a
Commissioner Scoggins?
second?
Commissioner McCabe, I'll second it.
All right. Thank you for that correction. So we now have Commissioner Scoggins made the motion for resolution 24-32 and Commissioner McCabe was the second. We'll go through this one more time. Is there any more discussion? No discussion. No amendments. Okay, so We have voted already. Do we need to do another vote? Okay, let's do another vote. Everyone use your clickers. And the vote is the same. All right. Yep.
The motion has failed unanimously.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for that correction. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, we are on to comments then. So, Commissioner Scoggins, we'll go back to you.
On the idea of this whole permit, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's like, it's most likely whether you disagree or agree, if it meets all the standards, it's going to go through. We're just delaying it and costing a lot of money to the borough and the builders and eventually the homeowner, right? Or whoever's going to rent or buy these properties. So I think that was a good comment you made there. So that's all I got.
Okay, Commissioner McCabe.
I just agree with Mr. Scoggins, Commissioner Scoggins. It's better to keep the process moving because our building calendar is so short up here. If we had more time, if we had a whole year to work with, it might make more sense to put a little bit of more oversight on it.
Commissioner Glenn?
Yeah, no comment.
Okay. Commissioner Fernandez?
Hello. I just wanted to let the commission and planning staff know that I have formally rescinded my resignation from the planning commission, and I intend to stay on until the end of my term. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Allen?
Thank you. This is one of those instances. I mean, it's happened a lot of times while I've been on this commission, but you know, I believe that I know how I feel about a particular issue, and the one thing I love about this group is that you know we all have you know pretty diverse backgrounds and expertise, and so basically you know my mind was changed by listening to some of you who no doubt know more than I do about construction certainly, but I also you know, something Commissioner Fernandez said about, you know, the current housing situation really struck a chord with me. I mean, I have clients and people that I know that are really struggling to find safe, quality housing in the valley. And when it's cold and windy and the way it is right now, that's a tough situation for some young families who are struggling to get by. And I think I just, you know, ultimately came to a place where I felt like I do have faith in the standards that this borough has. We're not going to just allow shoddy construction, you know, to show up all over the valley. So, you know, I feel comfortable with the way that we decided this today. But anyway, I just I appreciate the healthy debate that we sometimes have here, and appreciate the contributions that everybody brings. Thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Shane?
Well, thank you, everybody. It's been a great meeting, and I also want to just say that, like, one of the things that I guess I probably came across passionately about, and it's just that I have kids who are now grown and looking for places. I know a lot of my friends have kids that their kids are growing up and they're looking for places, and as these are real expenses that come about, and there's likely going to be more times long after I'm gone, long after all of you are gone, where they're gonna, you know, people are gonna look to push certain regulations that will, yeah, at first it'll look good, and then the next thing you know, it's adding more costs and making it more expensive for people who are looking for affordable housing. So it's just something that I'm passionate about. But thanks to everybody tonight for coming out and serving your community. And yeah, hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Alex?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to say we have 2 new planners coming on. So you'll see some fresh faces. They're not current planners, so you won't see them a whole lot. But when we have different plans or legislation coming forward, you'll see them. And we're sort of rebuilding the team. And it's pretty exciting.
Glad to hear that. I'm sure you are too. Okay, for my comments, I just want to say, everybody, thanks for the healthy debate. It's always good to hear all the sides and everybody participating. So thank you for that. And that's all that I have. So at 6:45, we will call this meeting adjourned.